last night, Mawuli, was that not the point that was coming up? You know, we had Tremaine Lee come from MSNBC and ask that question with regards to saying that black men don't vote. And we had to control the narrative as to, you know, what actually is going on and who's responsible for voting, and that black men do vote. You know, Mawuli, you know, I know you want to respond to it because, you know, when you put that group together at that black man's lab in Atlanta, Georgia, you had in that room brothers from the age of 7 to the ages of 73. And you had the intergenerational teaching that was going on and dealing with a lot of these issues. So I know you want to respond to that controlling the narrative, a concept that Professor Crenshaw really has just laid out so brilliantly.
And I appreciate that, Daryl, because that's what Black Man Lab is all about. It's about bringing us face-to-face with each other every single week. It's what we believe is probably the largest weekly gathering of black men from all walks of life. We have brothers in there who come with a PhD, with a JD, with no degree, brothers who are coming straight out of prison, brothers who have done incredibly well financially. They're just in that space so that we can see and affirm each other. We call it a safe, sacred, and healing space for black men so that we can not fall prey to the rhetoric that is so often spoken about us, but we know better. And so sometimes we just have to get in the same room and look at one another to draw strength so that we can go back out into this world and continue to fight and continue to battle. One of the things that people often forget is that upon our release from our captivity as formerly enslaved Africans, black men and women walked, put ads in papers looking for one another.
Yes.
So family and relationship and the building of couples, the black family has always been the very first source of our resistance, and they know that. And so their attempt to put a wedge between black men and black women to disrupt the black family, it's an intentional attack, and it has always been. But interestingly, the work that I see people like Melissa Haley, who's the president of the National Association of Black Social Workers, I see her husband, who's a lawyer, who is there by her side supporting this warrior sister. And so we have modern day examples of black men and black women, of power couples working around organizing to dismantle this system of white supremacy, because we know that they are on their deathbed. They are gasping for air, and so they're desperate in their moves and the things that they're doing, because they know they cannot continue to keep us in this posture and position. So they're doing everything that they possibly can, and it's clear that it's a when we in the South, when we look at this, the banning of books is nothing more than the criminalization of teaching black folk how to read.
Yes.
That
going all the way back.
The same pattern because they understand the power of our understanding and education and how that will move us. And the bottom line is they can't stop us. They cannot stop us.
Well, you know, there's nothing more evil and nothing more dangerous than a wounded animal. And the beast, that is white supremacy, is hurting right now because they know that we're bringing the truth to power, and that we're showing the truth, and that they can't take truth telling. They got to live and they live and flourish on the lie, on the mythology, on the stereotypes. And that's why it's so important, that we are always there. One thing that I, was so worried about, Mawuli, was doing earlier, in the last election cycle in Georgia for governor, people were running around talking about black men won't support Stacey. Black men aren't going to support the black woman, blah, blah, blah. And, a lot of us were saying, hey, you better watch. The issue is not, the brother's going to do what they need to do, but the issue is why the white women aren't supporting her. Why are they supporting Kemp so heavily, and that we got to, really look at where the facts are. But that mythology continues, right, Daryl? Because that reporter last night asked the question of why aren't black men going to vote in 2024? And what did you say, Daryl?
Oh, absolutely, Barbara. He started with the wrong premise, right? He wasn't telling the right narrative. He was trying to get us to buy into a narrative that we are not going to be voting and supporting, necessarily President Biden or whoever the candidate of our choice is. And it's a false choice. It's a false. The very premise of his question that black men aren't coming out to vote because they are dissatisfied with the candidates is a false premise. Black men are coming out to vote. We will vote in the numbers that are equal to what we've always voted in. We show up at the polls, but we cannot allow anyone to drive our narrative to make us believe that we don't vote. We need to create the narrative. We determine our narrative. We vote. We support our children. We support our families. We support our community. We get out and we vote. We control that narrative. And it's one of the things I think that Mawuli and the other brothers that were there last night, everyone was certainly on one accord in understanding that we will control our narrative and we will continue to do what we do. We will not allow the greater society to determine for us that for which we are determining ourselves. And that's one of the wonderful things I love with Professor Crenshaw. She's very clear to say, you're not going to control the narrative here. No. We got this. Okay, we will have our books. You want us to ban books? We're going to give them away. So that's the type of steps that need to be taken in a moment like this. So, Professor Crenshaw, in the world of banned books, I've got to ask you. One of the things that I find peculiarly interesting is that across the nation we see all these books being banned, but what I have not seen is any type of process to be put in place to determine at what point should a book be banned. Shouldn't there be some type of national, standard that's applied to say this is a book that's appropriate for this or this is a book that's inappropriate, and that's what's used? Not this mismatch. This is what they do in Indiana. This is what they do in Mississippi.
Or better yet, what about the laws like Illinois?
Yes.
That makes it the opposite. That took the opposite.
Exactly.
Let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and this is the kind of legislation, this is the kind of fighting back that we want to encourage those who are pro-democracy, pro-education, pro-racial inclusion to lift up. So, bans on book banning. If you ban books, you don't get money. It's just that simple. Mm-hmm. So that's what they're trying in Illinois. That's what they're trying in California. And then, Representatives Frost, Presley, Raskin in Congress, they are proposing various forms of legislation, first of all, to make money available to parents and local school boards to fight the book bans because it costs money to challenge it. So, two can play this game. If you're trying to dock people, their salaries or deny the resources that our schools desperately need because you're trying to force them not to teach things, then money needs to be made available so parents and local teachers can fight this. So that's what Representative Frost is trying to do. Ayanna Presley and Raskin are also trying to make it more costly for these book bans to happen and give more support and resources on the ground so people can fight it. The most important thing that I can say across the board is that they're not pivoting. They're not trying to appease. They're not trying to say, okay, you want us not to do 1619? Okay, we'll give you that. Go away. We won't teach CRT. We'll give you that. Go away. Look, this monster is insatiable.
Right. You can't feed the beast.
They want it all. They want our minds, our history, and our bodies. There's no outrunning this. So the only guarantee is that if we don't fight, they will consume us. We have got to fight. We've got to turn around and say, you don't get to do this on our watch. You don't get to take our children's future away from us on our watch. We will not allow it.
And Kim, because I know you got to leave us soon, I want you to reiterate where everybody's going to be. All right, everybody listening up right now. Everybody say. Come on now.
Everybody. Okay, so in Washington, D.C., we are going to be meeting at 10:30 at the Library of Congress. We are going to march from the Library of Congress over to the Supreme Court, because they're the source of a lot of this stuff. And we're going to remind people that Brown versus Board of Education was all about recognizing the connection between free, equitable education and democracy. We could not have a democracy with a segregated education system. Well, those folks on the other side, that is what they're trying to create again, an apartheid education system, where in some states we don't learn anything about our history, about our heroes, and about our contemporary situation. And in other states we do. We cannot have an apartheid education. So that's why we're going to fight there. In New York City, we will be joining the New York City Public Advocate for a rally in the Bronx and a book giveaway in the Bronx. So if you're in New York, go to the aapf.org website and you'll get more information. But look, Barbara, we want people to do things in their homes as well. So just like Daryl just suggested, have a watch party. Look at some of the Freedom to Learn videos. Have a discussion together. Make a sign. Make a plan. Host a meeting. Invite a local speaker. Tweet out all of the reasons why no U-turn on democracy is what we are all saying. Host a mixer. Basically, just go online, call us, tell us what you're doing. Let's make all the noise we possibly can on May 3rd, and then continue all summer long with all kinds of activities under the determination that this will be Freedom Summer 2024.
Wow. And on Thursday, I want everybody right now, make sure that you have circled 7:30 p.m. to watch the Freedom to Learn homeroom, the virtual rally, and that we want you to hear Save On Arlene Bradley of the National Council of Negro Women. We want you to hear Melanie Campbell of the National Coalition for Black Civic Participation. We want you to hear Damon Hewitt of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, Mark Morial of the National Urban League, Representative Ayanna Presley, one of the most powerful speakers out there, Representative Jamie Raskin, a leader on making sure Congress investigated that evil January 6th insurrection, Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, head of the National Action Network. You're going to hear Jocelyn Walker. You're going to hear Kay Wise Whitehead. You're going to hear Tim Wise and all these amazing speakers. And most importantly, you're going to hear Kimberlé Crenshaw. People, let's do this. Let's make sure that we are sitting our families down. Call up your children in college. Those who are in college, call up your friends in college. Call up those who are in the gig economy. Call up the people who are working every day and say, while you come home from work, this is how you rest. Listen, learn. Let's be part of this. Churches, get the word out. Everybody get the word out. Let's make sure that we defeat this movement, this MAGA, neo-Confederate, white supremacist movement that's trying to keep us down, that only knows the word insubordination or subordination when they're talking about black folks. Let us rise up, right, Kim?
Right, Barbara. And you know what? Everywhere you all are on Friday, if you're talking, if you're giving a speech, if you are doing anything that's connected to justice and democracy, make it a Freedom to Learn activation. Barbara, I know you're giving a speech somewhere on Friday. Daryl, I know you're probably doing something. Let's all say Freedom to Learn. Here's what I got to say today.
All right now, Kim, you are amazing. People can personally follow you on social media. Tell them, how do they find you on social media? Because you are burning it up.
Well, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, Kimberlé Crenshaw on Instagram, Sandy Locks, and Intersectionality Matters, both on formerly Twitter. I still call it that. I ain't going to call it X. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Well, talk about the white supremacists. Oh my goodness!
Talk about it. That's a whole nother show.
I mean, but we want to thank you, Daryl. I know you have some parting words to say to Kim, and I know Mawuli, you do. But we want you to know, sister, that we have you in our hearts. Don't you worry. That we know that you